What's up, everybody? Kenny here, also known as Silent 85. Welcome to another vlog. Forgive me, I look pretty rough today, but it has been a hell of a week. But there's something, this is actually a video I've been wanting to make for a while, because I did something in the past few months before I left Dallas that I've been meaning to talk about, and it was pretty emotional. So it took some time to digest and, process. But I wanted to talk about honoring lifelong memories, and especially those of people in our past. Um, there was specifically there was this girl Brandi, and I'll get into the story of Brandi here in a bit, just for a few minutes. I'm gonna break here at work, but essentially, um, what happened with Brandi is that I ended up as a kid um, lying to get out of a relationship. It's as you do as kids. You think you want something, you think you know what it is. Brandi was technically the first girl I ever said, I love you to. We were, I don't know, 11, 12 years old, something like that. For some of you, that's considered a late bloomer, because I know some of y'all said it younger. So, just people outside the family that you thought you were in a relationship with. Um, but the story of that is kind of straightforward. I asked Brandy out. We were out for 2 days. Went out for 2 days, and I was at lunch with my father one day, right across from the school, and I think we were at a Pizza Hut or a Little Caesars or something like that. We were eating inside, and this was the day after I had asked Brandy out. I thought she was really cool. She had a phone. Her family, if I remember right, her family was kind of well off, and she had a phone at her age. Um, and so anyway, I call her during lunch, and we talk real quick for like 2 minutes. I was like, "Hey, I'm just calling to say hi, yada yada." And I was like, "I love you." At the end, she was like, "I love you too." We were kids. So later that day, if I remember right, that afternoon, um, or maybe it was the next day, I ended up, in all my youthful wisdom, ended up lying and saying that my grandfather passed away and that I can't handle a relationship right now. I've always cringed over that, and I know some of you may think, "Why?" Because I'm 38, so this happened like you know damn near 30 years ago. Why did I hold on to that? I've always been the kind of guy that I do hold on to stuff like that, and I'm working on that as I get older. But that's the kind of stuff I always carried with me, you know, because I know I hurt somebody. Because she did cry. I remember her crying at school. I was crying too. I was faking the tears. Um, but anyway, come to find out, about a week later, a buddy of mine actually told Brandy the truth because my grandfather didn't die. Um, so, you know, being, I don't really blame him. I never really blamed him. I might have been upset or something. I was like, I thought you were my friend and all this and that. But, he ended up telling Brandy the truth. So, I don't remember ever speaking to Brandy. Maybe she didn't speak to me after that. I moved around a lot. There's a lot of confuddled memories up in here. But the reason I'm telling you this story, and the reason I'm going to get to the story of Brandy here in a bit, is because 30 years later, in my heart and in my mind, and Lady Psylocke was there to witness this. She can back me up. But 30 years later, nearly 30 years later, I visited Brandy's gravesite. I'll get to, again, her life and her passing here in just a bit from what I know about it. But I visited her gravesite. And because that had sat with me for so long, and it seems so trivial to some people, but for me, I wronged somebody in my childhood. I made them cry. I probably might have given them trust issues, for the male counterpart in their life. Um, but this was a girl that, at least for a couple of days, I thought was special, and I thought she was really cool. And we were even kind of friends before, from what I remember, at least for a week or two. I remember Brandy not having a whole lot of friends. I'll get to that in just a bit. Um, but anyway, I visited her site in Dallas. Finally got around to it. I've been meaning to do it for like a year off and on. I tried to get in a couple times, but the cemetery had been shut at certain hours. I couldn't get off in time to go to work, or I couldn't get off work in time to go. But it was incredibly hot that day. Um, I mean, there was a lot. It took us a bit to even find the gravesite. We had to get some of the staff involved in helping find it. She had been relocated from the Panhandle of Texas down to Dallas at some point. She had fresh flowers, so I know folks visited her grave. But I cried. I cried. I apologized. I told her, I was like, I'm so sorry for what I did. I know I was a kid. I know it was probably stupid. This is probably stupid of me to hold on to it for this long, but it is what it is. And, just straight up let it all out. I cried. I said things. I told her, I said, if you ever get to meet my dad up there, look after him. My phone's going off. I'm sorry. I got a new phone and I'm still working on the settings. But Um, it was just an amazing moment, and it did feel like a weight had been lifted because this is a weight that had built, not monumentally over the years, but it did weigh on me. Um, so the other important part of this is that Brandi died at the age of 16, a few years after this happened. Now, imagine for a minute that you're a 12-year-old girl with a handicap, a physical handicap. I don't remember the story of how she got it, but she walked with a limp. She had a handicapped right arm, and so she was looked down on, to say the least, in school. Because if you go to public schools, even private schools, you know that kids can be dicks, straight up assholes most of the time. Um, and so, not a lot of people engaged with her, or she probably didn't have a whole lot of friends. I was the same way. I was a fat kid with a big head. Um, so I had a couple of friends, but anyway, I clicked with her. I liked her, and I just took it too far and got stupid in that regard. But anyway, imagine that. Imagine you're this young girl, you got this guy interested in you, and it's really cool. Um, not the best looking guy, but he's probably kind of a cute boy. Um, and so he asks you out through notes as you do. You kind of got like this really, really nice feeling, butterflies in your stomach, and you talk on the phone for a few days, and then the next day, you know, he breaks up with you because he can't do it because he just told you his grandfather died. So it's kind of mixed feelings because you're probably very down about it, and you want to cry, but you know that he lost his grandfather. His grandfather died. So there's that. So you sit on that for about a week, and you're dealing with it, and then one of his buddies comes to you and tells you that he lied. He just wanted to break up with you. And he did it by telling you his grandfather died. Now, look, I can only guess what might have went through her head at that point. But here's the thing. I know that it wasn't something pleasant or positive, especially, and I can never confirm this, but if technically I was the first guy to ever, you know, go out with her, ask her out, tell her I love you, I was that first guy. If I was that first guy, and again, I can't prove that. But that has sat with me through the years. And I know that potentially, I might have caused Brandi some security issues in that regard. And then a few years later, she passes due to heart complications, from what I read in her obituary. That is brutal on a lot of levels for somebody like me because I can be very sensitive and I carry this stuff with me. And again, it's something I have to work on, and I am working on it. But Brandy always stuck with me. Everybody that I wrong in some way, even if it's something juvenile and trivial, like what a lot of people might see, in the whole Brandi situation as to what I did as a young kid, I carry that with me. It's always been a part of who I am to take note of that and know what I did. And at some point, maybe even atone for it, like I did with Brandi. Um, when I visited her grave nearly 30 years later and said, I'm sorry. I was stupid. I am so sorry for what I may have done to you. I am so sorry for what security issues I may have caused you, pain I may have caused you, because she was already suffering enough. She was already dealing with physical complications. She was very bright eyed, always smiling, from what I remember about it. But I know that within, I mean, it couldn't have been, her life was not easy. And I know I didn't help. I'm still getting happy about this. I'm not going to lie, getting a little tearful. But anyway, I've always honored her in that way. I've always, and I say that because I always carry that guilt. You know, I always needed to let it go, but I couldn't without setting something right. And since I could never tell her in person, I could never instant message her on Facebook or on Twitter, or get her text, send her a text, because obviously she was gone. Getting goosebumps here. Maybe her energy's with me. I don't know. It's funny. I've always our ancestors and the people that were a part of our lives. I believe there's always a connection there. There's always when they pass on, they're a part of that spirit of the universe, and I believe that even in the smallest way, even in the smallest molecule of our universe, there's some sort of connection to that, some sort of energy. Um, it's kind of hard to explain, but that's what I've come to believe. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, look, if you were a kid and you did something wrong, or if you wronged somebody, um, and it sits with you like the way it does me, I'm currently on a journey to rediscover certain parts of my life and atone for certain things I did that I believe in my heart that I need to do. It's funny, it's kind of like a step program in some ways, when it comes to rediscovery and trying to find some stability within, not carry so much weight, not just rely on medications to help forget all of it, or, escape into something or do whatever, you know, and definitely I don't turn to religion, but I can turn to myself to try to do what I can to make things right of things that sat with me over the years. And I'm human. I'm gonna have new stuff that pop up because of stupid or stupid things or mistakes that I make. It's gonna happen. But I think what really counts in the end is what I did to try to take some of that negativity I put out and try to convert it into something positive by recognizing it and doing what I can to at least apologize at the very minimum for what I did without any kind of prodding for an apology. And I've always tried to live by that code. So, anyway, thanks for listening. Um, Again, the whole Brandi situation is just testament to what I'm doing with my life and what I'm trying to turn into as a person. Somebody, better even for the juvenile bullshit that we do as kids. Um, and there's still some things in my life that I'm still working on and that I want to in time. I've set a goal to try to contact these people or something that happened that I want to correct within myself and go from there. So we're all on our own journey. The best we can do is do the damnedest that we can. So anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Remember, you're awesome. Never with royalty otherwise. And just to note, Brandi is her real name. I didn't want to give a last name just because there is a matter of privacy here. But um, she, I think, for her time on this planet, from what I remember, this girl was a beacon, was a light. Had to have been in her parents' eyes. If she had any siblings, I'm honestly not sure. But I know that there are people that still visit her grave. People still visit her site in remembrance of who she was and whatever light she brought to their life. And I think that's really the heaviest part of all this. She didn't deserve what I did to her. I don't think She didn't deserve it. But anyway, I've done what I can. That's who I am. Hopefully all this makes sense. I will talk to you later. Peace.